In the dusty heart of Willow Creek, Texas, where the sunsets painted the sky in fiery oranges and the air carried the faint scent of mesquite smoke, Emily Harper stood before a cracked full-length mirror in the back room of the old community hall. Her wedding dress, a simple avignon she'd sewn herself, hugged her ample curves in ways that society had long deemed unworthy. At 32 years old and weighing over 300 pounds, Emily had spent her life dodging the sharp edges of judgment, from schoolyard taunts to the sidelong glances at the local diner where she waitressed. Today, her wedding day, was supposed to be different. But as she adjusted the veil, a knot twisted in her stomach. Whispers from the gathering crowd outside seeped through the thin walls like venom. How'd she snag a guy like Tom? Must be pity. Laughter followed, cruel and unyielding, threatening to shatter the fragile dream she'd built. Emily met Tom Reynolds 2 years ago at the annual rodeo fair. It was a quiet mechanic with grease-stained hands and a smile that lit up like the 4th of July fireworks. Tom saw beyond her size. He saw her laughter, her kindness in feeding stray dogs, her selflessness in volunteering at the nursing home. "You're beautiful, Em," he'd say, his voice steady as the Texas plains. But the town didn't see it that way. Willow Creek was a place where traditions ran deep, and beauty was measured by magazine covers, not hearts. As the organ music swelled, Emily stepped out, her bouquet trembling. The aisle stretched like a gauntlet. Snickers rippled through the pews, old classmates, distant relatives, even some of Tom's cowboy buddies. One woman, a former beauty queen named Marlene, leaned over and whispered loudly, "Poor Tom, tying himself to that." Emily's cheeks burned, her steps faltering. She wanted to run, to hide, but Tom's encouraging nod from the altar kept her moving. Among the guests sat rancher Jack Harlan, a weathered cowboy in his 50s, with a Stetson hat tipped low and boots scuffed from years herding cattle on his sprawling spread outside town. Jack wasn't one for weddings. He came because Tom was a friend who'd fixed his truck more times than he could count. Beside him fidgeted his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, a sprite of a girl with freckles like scattered stars and braids tied with pink ribbons. Lily's mother had passed away 3 years ago from cancer, leaving Jack to raise her alone. It taught her to ride ponies, mend fences, and always speak her mind. "Truth's the best rope we got, darling," he'd say. Lily clutched a small bouquet of wildflowers she'd picked that morning, her wide eyes taking in the scene with innocent wonder. As Emily reached the midpoint of the aisle, the laughter peaked. A group of young men in the back row guffawed, one mimicking a waddling penguin. Emily's vision blurred with tears. She gripped her flowers tighter, willing herself not to crumble. The minister cleared his throat awkwardly, but the mockery hung in the air like dust after a stampede. Then, in that charged silence, a small voice pierced through, clear, unwavering, like a bell in the wilderness. "She is pretty, Daddy." It was Lily, tugging at Jack's sleeve, her face beaming with genuine awe. Heads turned, the laughter dying like a fire doused by rain. Jack glanced down, surprised, but Lily continued, louder now, unfiltered by adult cynicism. "Look at her dress. It's like a princess. And her smile, it's the nicest one ever." The room froze. Emily halted, her eyes locking onto the little girl. No one had ever called her pretty without a caveat, without the but that followed like a shadow. Marlene's smirk faded, the young man shifted uncomfortably. Jack, sensing the shift, nodded at his daughter. "You're right, Lily. She is pretty." His voice, gruff from years of shouting over windstorms, carried authority. He stood, removing his hat in respect, and clapped slowly. One by one, others joined, Tom's mother, then the nursing home director Emily had helped, then strangers moved by the child's purity. The applause built, not out of pity, but from a collective awakening. Emily's tears fell freely now, but they were of relief, of validation she'd never sought but desperately needed. Flashback to Emily's childhood, growing up in a trailer on the edge of town, her single mother working double shifts at the factory. Keats called her Ellie the elephant and she buried the hood in books and baking pies for neighbors. Selflessness became her armor, she gave to others what she craved, acceptance. When her mother died young from heart disease, Emily vowed to live fully, but the weight, both literal and emotional, piled on. Meeting Tom was her first real hope, but the wedding whispers threatened to undo it all. Now, this unexpected turn from a cowboy's daughter flipped the script. Lily's words weren't just kind, they were a mirror reflecting Emily's inner light, one the town had ignored. As the ceremony proceeded, the atmosphere transformed. Bows were exchanged with renewed warmth, and at the reception in the hall's adjoining barn, stories flowed like sweet tea. Jack approached Emily, Lily in tow. "My girl here's got a good eye," he said, tipping his hat. "Reminds me of her mama, saw beauty in everything." Lily hugged Emily's legs, whispering, "You glow like the moon, Miss Emily." That moment sparked conversations. Marlene apologized sheepishly, admitting her own insecurities. The young men offered toasts, one confessing he'd been bullied for his stutter as a kid. Emily realized this wasn't just her day, it was a ripple of humanity, where one child's selfless truth exposed the fragility in everyone. But the profound realization came later, during the first dance. As Tom held her close, Emily whispered, "I almost ran. Ismail. But you didn't. And look what happened." The unexpected hero wasn't a knight, but a little girl whose innocence cut through prejudice like a sharp knife. It dawned on Emily that kindness wasn't grand gestures, it was the quiet courage to voice what the heart sees. Lily's act of compassion didn't just save the wedding, it transformed the town. Whispers turned to compliments, and Emily felt a weight lift, not from her body, but from her soul. The climax unfolded under the string lights as the band played a slow country tune. Lily, emboldened, pulled Emily onto the dance floor for a twirl. The obese bride and the tiny cowgirl spun together, laughter echoing. Onlookers joined, forming a circle of unity. In that swirl of movement, Emily had her epiphany: beauty wasn't a size, it was the capacity to love despite scars. Tears streamed as she hugged Lily, whispering, "Thank you for seeing me." The girls replied, "Everyone should see like me, Miss Emily. It's easy if you try." As the night wound down, guests departed with full hearts. Jack lifted Lily onto his shoulder, waving goodbye. "You taught us all something, today, darling," he told her. Emily and Tom drove off in his old pickup, cans rattling behind. In the rear view, Willow Creek seemed smaller, kinder. Months later, Emily started a support group at the community hall for those battling body image, inspired by Lily's words. The little girl became a regular visitor, her innocent wisdom a beacon. In the end, "She is pretty," that wasn't just a phrase, it was a testament to the power of humanity's purest form, childlike kindness. It reminded everyone that selflessness could heal wounds deeper than any scar. In a world quick to judge, one voice of compassion could spark a revolution of hope. Emily's story spread beyond Willow Creek, touching hearts across the USA, proving that true beauty blooms from within, nurtured by the generous acts that connect us all. And in that, we find our shared humanity, inspiring us to look closer, speak kinder, and believe in the transformative magic of seeing each other as we truly are.